I'm ready to start another new project here. This is a porcelain cat figurine. They're probably 13 inches, 14 inches high, something like that. Very good, thick, old porcelain, and it's broken pretty bad. I got a lot of tiny little fragments in here. Some of these, anything that's not sand, I'll probably end up using here. Or, anything that's big enough to pick up with my fingers, I'll probably end up using. The rest of it, it's nice to have because every once in a while you need a little sliver of something to make a piece fit right, and without it, it's much more difficult. So I do save those things for that reason. But most of the time I don't end up using them. This one has also been previously repaired. I think it was just some chipping or something because the brakes didn't go all the way through, but this area here has been worked on before, and the paint has discolored, and you can see it's a little darker than the surrounding area, so we'll have to address that as well. Also, there were some chips that weren't filled when they repaired that, so we'll deal with all of that. And some of these brakes, these pieces that came off of here, also have chips missing from them. Several of those sort of things. So it's not super complicated or difficult job, but interesting potentially. This is the Hixel I'm using as a bonding agent on this job. So I've mixed my Hixel in a beaker. I've a glass rod to apply it, and I'm trying to stay away from the ends. I don't want to squeeze out to come out the ends if it's possible, because you don't want to get glue in these areas where these fine points come together. The next piece won't fit if you don't. And I'm just using masking tape to hold this together. So I'll bond these and they'll sit overnight. It's important to get the alignment as good as I can in early stages. It's hard to get the tape to stick to these rough surfaces too. Okay, now I will put that in a sandbox so it can stand up and not move. So I will check my alignment. I can see my crack is closed and well aligned, and just so it doesn't move or slump out of place on me, I'll put in this sandbox and I'll hold it in an orientation where it's not going to move. I'll do this with this other piece too. And that'll sit on a shelf overnight. I'll be adding pieces together like this a few at a time until we build them up and add them to the rest of the structure. So I'm using a brush now to apply my Hixel. It's quicker on these rough areas It's quicker than using the glass rod. Again, I'm staying away from the very ends. This will go in here. I'm putting a fairly thin coat on here. I don't want it squeezing out the ends. Okay. Wipe off my squeeze out. And put some tape on that. And here is an instance of what I was talking about, needing a little sliver of something for things to fit right. Can you zoom in on this? So I got this tiny little shard that needs to go in right here. Because if I don't, I won't be able to get it in later. And it makes this piece fit snugly. Like so. Okay, it's the next day and I have taken the tape off and I'm going to hopefully get the rest of these parts in here today. And I'm going to put these pieces in that I'm putting in now. I'm going to put in dry with no bonding agent so that I can assemble it. You'll see why in a moment. I need to be able to get some pieces in here. It'll be too hard to do and too messy if I try to put the glue on first and put it together. And what I need to do is get some pieces in behind this piece. There's a void right here. And they won't stay there. There's no way to tape them in, they're too small. So I'm going to attach this piece, which will hold them in place, keep them from falling out while I tape it all down. So that goes something like this. We got these odd looking pieces that have to go in here. You can see how sloppy and floppy it is. It's pretty hard to wrangle these three pieces, if you see what I mean. This would be hard to do without this other piece holding it in place. Okay. There we go. Okay. Try to take this down tight so it doesn't move. Difficult to do on rough surfaces like this, but I think we'll manage. So I'm going to be applying the glue, the Hixtel, to this from the other side. Turn this around for you to see the other side of it. Here's the area we just saw from the other side. So I have my cat in this bucket held in place with bean bags. There are a couple of them in here. And the reason is this is going in the hot box, and I want to keep this figurine with the base relatively level because I'm putting Hixtal on these cracks, and I want it to wick into the cracks instead of run off. So this is to keep this is to facilitate that. So I put this in a plastic bucket, bean bags holding this in the orientation I want it, and then I heat it up. Now I've just taken it out of the hot box, and while it's still hot, I'm going to put my pre-mixed Hixtal on that crack, and I have a glass rod for that application. So the heat of this object makes this run right down into the cracks. I'm going to tilt this up in a moment, and that's all going to run back out if I don't give it a minute to run in there. So I'm just basically putting this on all the cracks. Okay, now this will go back in the hot box, and that'll help this Hixtal further penetrate and also speed up the curing of it. Alright, this has been in the hot box for a couple days because I put a lot of Hixtal on it. I want to make sure it got good penetration and is good and fairly cured so that I could take this out and put Hixtal on it from the other side. Because we have some deep fissures here, and I want to make sure this is fairly thick in here. I want to make sure we get plenty of this on there. And so I've just taken this out of the hot box because it's still warm, and I wanted to use this to help penetrate. See this crack here? And put this on right on the crack, and when it's warm, when the object is warm, it will help it penetrate into that crack. It will thin the Hixtal a little bit more so that it can penetrate. I got a tiny bit of a gap here, and that's why I want to get this filled so we get it very strong. And this offset will be fixed with milliput. But like I say, we want to get this deep into these fissures. There's another deep one right here. So that's the plan here. You can't, it's pretty busy here as far as this texturing and things. It's kind of hard to see what I'm doing probably on the video. So I'm using this milliput white, superfine white, to fill the cracks and chips on this. So I wanted to show this different method of working with milliput. And I'm using, I have some paper towels, squares, some Q-tips, and just this water. And I'm going to use this instead of sanding. Alright, so I put water on a Q-tip, and I just wipe this with water. I have to work fairly quickly because this milliput will, once it gets stiff on you, it's hard to wipe off. It's not cured yet, but it's just difficult to wipe off. So I can save a lot of sanding here. This is a rather rough textured, bumpy textured thing, and just to try to file on this would be crazy. With a straight file, you'd be here for a week just trying to plane it down, and it's just, this is way much less work. The more water I use, the better. It's getting stiff and hard to wipe off. But I'll get most of this off here, and I won't have to get down into this. It'll stay in the cracks where I want it, but I'll get it off the rest of it here. Alright, so now I've got a couple coats of coal glaze on here, and I'm just going to go over all these spots where I did fills and things, and we're going to bring in the background color. I'm repainting this part because it's been repaired before and the color has faded. The clear coat on top of the color has faded. As you can see, it's different color here than it is here. So we're going to redo that. So I'm getting ready to put some color on this cat base. And I'm going to put the green in here, and I've mixed my color, and this is how I got it. I'm using Golden's colors, airbrush colors, and we got Titan Buff, permanent green, and some naphthol red to get this shade of green. I have a piece of a sponge here, and I'll just start bringing this in. And the way this was done is it was this purplish color was put on after the green. So we'll start with the green. This is just a bit of an old sponge. I keep pieces of these around just for this kind of painting. This off the tail after I've done my sponge painting. Okay. Alright, so let's go around and wipe this off here. And then I want to put cold glaze on top of this so that the reason I do that is in case I need to, when I'm putting on this other color, in case I need to wipe some off, I'm not going to, if I were to do that now and have to wipe it off, I would take the green off too. So I have mixed the other color for this base, and I'm using a sponge. So now it's all done, and we're going to put some more, I'm going to put about 2 or 3 coats of heavy coats of cold glaze on the work I did down here.